Everything is changing. On the one hand, China is building solar and renewables at a rate no one ever thought possible. Whereas on the other hand, China is building the vast majority of new coal plants. The balsam's dying back, the leaves are turning yellow. It's just that time of year. Change is just a part of life. They've started attaching the lids to plastic bottles now. That really upsets some people. If you're one of those people that does upset, I want you to have a sit down for 5 minutes and really think about your priorities. But look, I get it, change is scary, change freaks me out. So I'm going to go and find the 2 people that I know who know more about change than anybody. Hello, Nan.
Hello, John.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you, really, for doing this. Very grateful.
Pleasure.
So I'm interviewing you, Nan, because, well, number one, I've always wanted to, and I think everybody wants to know lots of your stories and things like that.
Right.
So they better be interesting.
Well, I hope so. Some bits might be.
Some bits might be. So you're an expert on the environment, I understand. Have I got that right?
The top person.
The number one?
The number one.
Good. That was what we had in the research, wasn't it? Good. All right. So I'm going to have to ask a very rude question.
Yes.
Nan, when were you born?
1934.
1934, which makes you?
Nearly 91.
Nearly 91 years old.
Yeah.
So when do you start to remember the world? People are usually like 5, aren't they, when they start?
Yes, I would say about 5.
About
probably.
5. So what was going on when you were 5?
The war.
The war?
Yes, I was 5 when the war broke out.
Yeah.
And the government had obviously already put a plan forward for evacuation, and almost immediately we were sent away to complete strangers. I was with my brother, who was a year younger, and it was the first time we'd been on a train. So there we went, clutching a little carrier bag with our change of underclothes, I suppose, some sandwiches, a gas mask over our shoulder, and sent off to complete strangers. I just remember standing in a church hall, waiting to be, with my brother, waiting to be picked by local people who'd obviously agreed to take evacuees.
I think someone's being evacuated as we speak, actually. Let's just wait for this gentleman to finish. And I should have grabbed a glass of water, just a sec. So, you went back to London?
Yes.
During the war?
Yes.
That would be about 1940?
Yes, 40, yes, because we were back in time for the Blitz.
And you were there in the Blitz?
Yes. I just remember bits of it, really. It was very noisy, naturally. Bombs dropping, planes droning, guns firing. And you just never knew what you would find the next day when you still went to school.
Did you? Wow.
Well, we had a shelter at the school, and if the siren went, everyone went down to the shelter. And we continued saying our tables and spellings in the basement, you know, while the raid was going on.
What day was Bath Day when you were a kid?
What day was? Bath Day.
Bath Day, yeah.
Well, it started off in the house where I lived when the war was on. We had a tin bath on the nail in the garden, a big copper in the kitchen to heat the water. And I think it was Friday night, the bath would be brought in, the youngest would go in, the next one, and my dad would be last. A bit more hot water added for each person. So I'd say Friday night was bath night.
Friday night was bath night. I think when you explain that to people these days, because this is not that long ago in the grand scheme of things, is it really? Well,
about 85 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, I suppose so.
I was trying to be nice. I think one thing that people these days would say, and don't be offended, what was the smell of everything different, and everyone and everything?
Very unpleasant.
Was it actually? Is that
well,
your
it
memory?
Was.
Yeah.
People smelt sweaty and.
Really?
Yeah, but yeah, they smelled.
And did you just not care? Or?
Well, that's how life was, John. You know, you didn't have hot water on tap, or many people didn't have a bathroom. You'd have a wash, of course, but and then you'd wear the same clothes, you know, for several days. You didn't have a clean pair of this and that on every day. Is that it?
I'm worried about the sun, and I think that's lots and lots.
Well,
thank you so much.
All right, John.
Mwah. Thank you.
I hope you can use 5 minutes of it.
Don't you think that was brilliant?
Thank you, Sarah.
Oh, thanks, Nan. It was lovely.
I promise you're going to hear the rest of Nan's story at some point. But now I need to go and talk to somebody about earth-shattering global change. And when you think global change, you think of one place. Hello, Josh.
Hello.
How's it going, man?
It's going well.
Pleased to meet you.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I hope you weren't offended about my silly joke about Glossop.
Oh, no, not at all. But I have to correct you. This is actually a pretty interesting place to think about global change, because with Manchester being right next door, where the Industrial Revolution began, where they were pumping a bunch of coal soot and other acids and things into the atmosphere, a lot of it landed right here in the Peak District. So it's actually a really interesting place to look at global change.
Huh. Is that one of those things where you can look at the different levels of the ground and see how?
Yeah.
Okay,
so
interesting.
You can track some of that through the peat cores, so you can dig down into the peat, get those long kind of historical records of what the chemistry of the peat is. People do things like that around here. Yeah.
Very cool. We've got straight into it.
Yeah.
I have so many questions to ask you, Josh. Oh, first question. Would you like some tea?
I'm okay, thanks.
You're okay.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I have some?
Oh, not at all.
Thanks very much. So, in the simplest possible terms, please, Josh, could you break down what change ecology is, or ecology of change? Which way around is that?
Global change ecology.
Global change ecology. It brings to mind like climate change, but it's not just that, right? Could you break that down for me?
So it's basically the study of any kind of human impact that shapes ecological processes. So climate change is included in there. There's nutrient deposition. So, you know, a lot of the industrial activities that we do deposit things like nitrogen and sulfates and other kind of other chemicals that influence and change ecological processes. A big one, probably the biggest one, is actually habitat destruction. So, or land use change.
Yeah.
So anytime you convert a forest, an old growth forest, into some agricultural land, it has a massive effect on the biodiversity and the ecosystem processes. That's a big thing that we study. So, you release a lot of carbon into the atmosphere, you change the nutrient cycling, you lose a lot of nutrients out of the soil when you change land use history, or when you make that sort of land use change.
Which that's something that isn't caused by climate change, is it? That's people turning forest into something else. Yep. It will interact with climate change, I would suppose, but that's another example that climate change is not the whole story here. We're doing all sorts of changes, aren't we, globally?
No, and when it comes to things like biodiversity conservation, land use change is actually the biggest issue.
Really?
It's it's clear cutting forests around the world, and losing the biodiversity that are held there. Especially in places where you have very small range species. If you level the entire forest that they're in, and we've never studied them before, I think we often don't know the level of destruction that we're causing with some of this land use change.
I'm a layman and I don't read many scientific journals, not going to lie to you, Josh. But however, as far as I understand, some of the models, when a lot of climate change study kicked in the 90s, are proving now to be basically bang on. Is that right? The sort of models that they've been using with these big data sets and things, they're getting everything right.
Yeah, I think they're doing a pretty good job. Yeah.
Which is terrible.
It's unfortunate for us, but
yeah.
It kind of reinforces that the scientific process and the revision is working, right?
Absolutely. So that's a positive that you take from it, is it? That, you know, despite the fact that you're amongst people studying climate change, which is a disaster, whichever way you slice it, the science is coming through, isn't it? It's proving itself to be capable. Does that motivate you to keep going?
Yeah, because I mean, there's still, the science we're doing is good, but there's still a lot of uncertainties, especially with how biology is going to change with climate change, right? So I think following that, you know, it inspires some hope that we can figure out what's going to happen and then try to mitigate it as best as we can.
Sure.
And prepare and manage systems for the future.
Josh, will you be staying in the Northwest for a while, or any plans to leave this wonderful part of the world?
Not at present, no.
All right, man.
Staying at the University of Manchester. Yeah.
Great stuff. Well, if we're ever in Glossop, I'll look you up again and maybe we'll have another chat.
Sounds good.
Really appreciate it, man. All the best. So, change is going to happen. Thinking back to my conversation with Nan, someone who lived through the Blitz, that's just 2 generations ago, 2 people ago. And since then, so just imagine what we could do if we all got together and tackled big problems like climate change, or even worse problems like Himalayan balsam, for just 1 generation.